wondering what I was signing up for. So the subtitle on this one, according to one of my friends, is The Chords Mel Bay Never Showed You. Tapping, that's tapping, reaching over the fingerboard and playing bass lines with the right hand. Now, you're going to go home, some of you, and you're going to try this, and it's going to suck. And you're not going to know why, and I won't be there to ask. So let me tell you now why it's going to suck, and then maybe it won't when you get home and try it after you practice a while. First of all, when you tap, you have to tap much more aggressively than you're used to. Normally, if you put your left hand down, you just need to hold down the note, and that's the only effort you want to expend. You don't want to push down any harder than you have to, because it slows you down and it makes for front noise and all kinds of stuff. But if that's, you're not plucking anymore. That's going to have to generate the note. So if you just put your finger down, you're not going to get much. You really got to do it very physically. Then, the reason number two that it sucks is because the higher up on the fingerboard you go, you're creating a note behind your tap, and it sounds bad. Just the artifact, it's whatever string length it happens to be. When you play down here, no problem. Listen up here. You're hearing this, and you're hearing. which you've created also. It's not as audible, but it's in there, and it's never in tune. What do you do about that? Well, there's a couple things, 3 things you can do. One is try to find a way to tap highest up on the fingerboard that you can. That shortens that string thing and makes it less audible. Another thing you can do is take an extra finger. Like when you saw me tapping on the B string, you notice I had an extra finger behind it. It was just trailing along, killing the note behind it. The B string was the more audible of the two. And the third thing you can do is distract everybody's attention from the part you don't want to listen to by doing something else at the same time, which is what I did with the bass tapping. Because then they can't hear it. Now the other thing is, do you notice at the very end how I tap that B flat note up here? Why wouldn't I do it here? Well, listen. See, you hear it? As opposed to, that's a lot cleaner. Harder as you're reaching further from your body, but cleaner. So the higher up you can tap the note that way towards the note, the better it's going to sound. Yeah?
2 questions, Chris. On your artificial harmonics, were you using your thumb to strike the string?
Yep.
So behind your index or your middle, you were using your thumb, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then also...
Sometimes several, not just one, but sometimes several.
Okay, even there you were kind of strumming behind it? Okay. Also, do you depend on the amplification for enhancing your tap? For example, if it weren't amplified, you would hear that dissonance on the backside of your string.
Oh, sure you would.
Oh, okay. So that's what I guess...
Yeah, it's an acoustic phenomenon.
Okay, no, yeah, I'm aware of that, but I'm just wondering, does it help you also with the melody to have it amped? I guess I don't know how to ask my question.
No, I understand what you're saying. Well, let me say, I'll answer sort of backwards. This stuff has to sound okay in a room or in front of a couple microphones. Okay. There may be that you can find ways to amplify it that are cool, and for instance, you could put an echo on it like I did. I had a little slap echo that I have programmed to be timed with what I usually, so when you hear, that's certainly amplified only.
Right.
You certainly aren't going to do that acoustically. But it's better when I record these things, I'm recording them in front of a couple of microphones. Okay. So it better work, acoustically too. There are times when you can heighten whatever you wish to communicate with amplification too. Open G tuning. This is the tuning I actually start people in if I think they're ready for tunings. And if you want one reason, I'm not going to play slide for the whole piece on this song, but if you want one reason to pick a tuning, tune your guitar to open G, which is these 3 strings going down a whole step, the 2 E's and the B. You create a G chord. This is the first tuning I've had for you that has a regular chord. So here's a G. And that means the straight edge will make a chord. So your hand may be disoriented, but that's okay, it doesn't have to know much. And if you have a straight edge on your hand, you got a whole new way to communicate. Visit that room in the guitar house if you don't retune and pick up a slide. You see, you don't have to be a guitar player to know that that's cool. That sounds different. That's a new way to communicate, and that's part of what tunings are about. Same thing with the slide, by the way, as with tapping. You notice if you don't put a finger behind the slide, you hear 2 notes going in the other direction. You hear a lot of artifact from behind the string, but if you put a finger or 2 behind it, yeah.
I had a question about, I think I heard you say when a student is ready for open tuning?
Yeah, a lot of people, I want them to learn basic finger style, I want them to learn the chords in standard tuning and have some decent guitar fluency, understand the muscular movements to keep a bass and melody going. And then, I throw them in G tuning for a while, because it's a real handy one. I mean, because a one finger chord, here's your C, here's your D, and here's your time. I played a little tune for you, and called the Huckleberry Hornpipe in G tune. Over the years, I've probably got a whole album's worth of fiddle tunes and bluegrass tunes and Irish tunes and things like that in tunings. Because so you can accompany yourself and play the fiddle part too, because the tuning keeps you from having to fret all the bass notes. Your bass notes for G, right there, and your C, just a single finger, so you can reach around and play a lot of melody. You have all this hand left to chase the melody around that you wouldn't have. You're playing your C chords here and your G chords here and so on, and your D chords there. And your D also, C has two open strings, so you can keep that. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all
Okay.
right.
Awesome.
Time for some Moody Blues then. Do a little nice and like that for you. By now you've seen some tapping, you've seen some slide, a little bit just as an example, different kinds of tapping, different tunings. Every song almost is in a different tuning, different techniques, different keys. And then when you get to this one, you've got the EBow besides, which is a little battery power deal that helps the string sustain by, generating a magnetic field above it. So you put it above a string. And it moves it magnetically. That doesn't have anything to do with being plugged in. And it's not all that hard to use unless you're also going to be your own bass player and accompany yourself. It's hard to use when you have to focus on other activities besides just holding it and playing some notes on it. But the thing about, if people want to ask about tunings, this is a great one to talk about it, because there's no way I could have kept that going and accompanied myself on bass without retuning the guitar for one, to play the whole of that song. What are you going to do if you're a solo guitar player when you get to the flute solo in Nights in White Satin? You going to punt? Just not play that part?